Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome to the May 2024 Qualifier Play-In Event. This is a best of 3 Outlaws of Thunder Junction sealed event where we're competing for entry into the upcoming Qualifier Weekend event, which is another chain up that competes for entry into the upcoming Arena Championship. This event is also the only opportunity to spend play-in points. These are points that you accrue from being top 1500 Mythic or by winning traditional draft events, so that is what I'm here to do today. We're going to take our play-in points, throw them into the sealed lottery, and see how many gems pop out. Without further ado, let's bust open these packs, spin that slot machine, see what we get to play with today. Alright, so we have Gisa, one of the best mythics in the format. We have Bristlebud Farmer, another really solid mythic in green. Really liking the green-black potential here, but a final showdown can be great as well if you can make it to 6 mana. Getting an instant speed Wrath of God's pretty good if you can make it to 7 mana. Instant speed Wrath that also saves your best creature is absurd, so that's another really high one there. So I like those three a lot. What does lead me towards Golgari or Green-Black is obviously that we have a great removal spell with Abrupt Decay for that color pair, as well as Pillage the Bog, which later in the game becomes a full-on demonic tutor, just finding your best card out of your deck, period. So this digs really, really deep to find Gisa the Hellraiser or Bristlebud Farmer, so I'm really feeling like a Green-Black start here if we have the common and uncommon support to get there. But there's other options, of course, with a big Wrath. I don't think this Jace is particularly great in sealed, so that's not that interesting, but this board wipe is certainly big. The train heist can be good and something really aggressive. That's about it. I mean, it's pretty great rares, but preferably we have some good support in Golgari. So let's check out our sealed pool. I'd like to check out our multicolored and colorless cards first. Colorless shows us where we have fixing, just how much fixing we have in general, as well as it gets to show us some of the cards we might play in any of our decks. And our colorless is really empty. There's 3 cards total, one of which is just not very playable, another one is just very mediocre fixing, a single treasure token, and the other one is just fine filler. So colorless doesn't really matter, doesn't impact us at all, but multicolored uncommons can sometimes be about as strong as like monocolored rares, so they can be reasons to pull you into a specific color pair or cards that give you a specific direction to go. Savage Smash, not really. If we are red-green, we'll play it. Not a reason to go that way. Honest Rutstein, though, pretty excellent Golgari uncommon. Pretty big reason to be in the color pair. It's excellent graveyard recursion, and it makes all your stuff cost less. So you can play it and recast whatever you picked up sometimes late game pretty easy, thanks to that cost reduction. So excellent value play there. Of course, we have the rares. We've got 1 dual land there in that color pair as well, so that's helpful. So yeah, that's very exciting. The Rakdos card, we need a ton of Outlaws and a really aggressive sealed pool to go for this. This is a little bit better in like draft than sealed. I'm not that excited about it. Hypothesis is pretty great removal in blue-red. It's card draw and removal at the same time, so it's flexible. Intimidation Campaign's great for a controlling deck if you have a lot of removal spells in your blue and your black. And that's it. I mean, Siphon Insight is a crime that also draws cards out of your opponent's deck. So that synergizes quite well with Intimidation Campaign. So I actually kind of like the blue-black control route, potentially. If our green sucks, which is unlikely, but if it sucks enough that we don't get to play Bristlebud Farmer, I kind of like blue-black as the backup plan when we have Intimidation Campaign and Siphon Insight there. Go blue-black Gisa control instead of green-black. Just nonsense. I mean, we could go all 3 if our fixing is good enough. We have 1 green-blue land. We've got a green-black land and a blue-black land. Maybe the fixing's good enough to actually play all 3. That could be pretty sweet. But I think those are where our multicolored cards are exciting. And our monocolored cards, obviously, the rares. So let's check out the white. We want to take a peek at every color and make sure we're not missing anything. Very low creature count. 2 of them are very good, the Erranks and the Tycoon. The spells are pretty mediocre mostly. I like Getaway Glamour, Final Showdown, and Take Up the Shield a lot, but this is a low quantity of actually exciting cards. We can play Fierce Retribution, but Lullaby, Rustler, Rampage, these are really filler, so not particularly excited about the white. As for the blue, pretty low quantity of cards, pretty low quality of cards. while we have good blue-black multicolored cards, I don't think the blue helps support them very well with only one really good blue crime, the Phantom Interference. Like, no blue card draw. I guess Jace. We'll definitely play Jace if we're blue, but I don't think Jace is a massive reason to be in the color, and the rest of the blue looks pretty janky. So, yeah, I don't really love any of these creatures. I don't love these non-creatures. Although Emergent Haunting's probably pretty good in blue-black control. We can skip playing spells for that. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look very deep. Black looks extremely deep. We have Consuming Ashes and Murder for excellent removal. We have Gisa for an absolute bomb. We have double Ambush Gigapede that are great top-end cards for the curve. We have double Servant of the Stinger, which can tutor for Gisa. We have Vault Plunderer to draw towards her. We have double Desperate Bloodseeker, which can commit crimes for the Servant of the Stinger or for the Gisa, for anything that wants us to commit crimes. Black is insane. This is so many cards. And if we're aggressive, double Forsaken Miner is certainly a thing. Speaking of being aggressive, one thing to note here with the Forsaken Miners, they are outlaws, and we've got a lot of good aggressive black cards to be outlaws. We have double Miner, Vault Plunderer. I guess the Servants aren't that aggressive, but they are outlaws as well, so maybe this is the sealed pool where that red-black outlaw card really gets to shine and we're actually just red-black aggro. Again, that would be if our red is really good or our green is really bad, but that might be the case. For the blue, I really don't think it's there, so if we are doing blue stuff, it's probably splashing in blue to a black-green deck to be a little bit of Sultai, something like that. Or splashing blue into a red deck, being a little bit Grixis. So what do we have for red? So this isn't playable, this isn't playable, this isn't playable, this isn't... this ideally isn't. So top-end finisher. We've got some really good 3-mana outlaws in red. I think our black is deep enough if we want to play something really aggressive. Rakdos is the color pair. We don't have enough good aggro 2-drops, but the 1-drops make up for it a little bit. I guess we get Vile Smasher in there as another aggressive 2-drop. Yeah. Black-red aggro is certainly a spot to be. Looks like an okay black-red aggro deck, really relying on Gisa's power level there. The general card quality in red looks just fine here. I do like the Derailment quite a lot, and the Great Train Heist quite a lot. The Hellspur Brute, actually, with the amount of outlaws we have, is pretty good. Prickly Pear is pretty good. But like Quill Charger, Mine Raider, Reckless Lackey, Highway Robbery, these are all whatever. These are all just not really making the cut. Yeah, no, red-black aggro is actually pretty real. Oh no! There's 4 green creatures and 4 green non-creatures, and if I want to run a high quantity of green cards, I have to run multiple Reach for the Skies, which are okay, but they're so expensive, you really can't afford to run more than like one of these. Maybe we are actually black-red outlaws, because it's just such a deeper deck than our Golgari deck. I mean, we get Abrupt Decay and Pillage the Bog here. I mean, black is so deep that, again, we could go in either one of these directions. And we could play black, splash green, splash blue. The issue with that is if we're just splashing green, how are we getting double green for Bristlebud Farmer, you know? At least how are we getting that mana early? So this would be straight Golgari. Our deck would look something like this. I mean, it's a lot lighter on green than I would want it to be, but it's actually nowhere near as bad as I thought it would be at first glance with the low amount of green cards. What were the blue cards we were thinking about splashing? They actually might not be worth it. Because green didn't give us any more crimes, and I think they were just both crime things. Like, okay, so we get Botanical Sanctum into the deck. We get Soured Springs into the deck. So we have 2 free blue sources that don't make our mana base any worse. And then we just play like 1 Intimidation campaign. Siphon Insight is a draw 2. So it's not like of the power level of something you really want to splash. It's selective draw 2. Draw the best card out of your opponent's top 2 twice, but it's still just a draw 2. Intimidation campaign can be a draw a lot if you commit a lot of crimes. We would have 2 crime lands. We'd have Festering Gulch and we'd have the blue-green desert as well. So 1, 2, double Bloodseeker, that's 3, 4. Double Assassin, 5, 6. Double Gigapede, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11 crimes. That's pretty good. Yeah, Intimidation campaign might be worth the splash here. We don't have any actual fixing in this sealed pool in colorless or in green. It's just in our lands. Unless I play like a gold pan, I guess that sort of counts as fixing. Yeah, I mean, our best blue card is Jace at double blue. I think even with a really low count of green cards, the blue cards are so mediocre that the green as a core color is just better than the blue as a core color. The only thing that blue really gives us is the Intimidation campaign. So we splash that in off of 1 island and 2 non-basics. We play that over like Forsaken Miners because we're not that aggressive. So, I mean, ideally we want to cut both Forsaken Miners. Since they can't block, so they're not really helping at all as creatures on the defensive. We would throw in... Neutralize the Guards is so matchup specific. Pretty good against like white aggro where they've got their 2 mana 3/1 that they always play. But it's so matchup specific. So like we can put in an 18th land, or we can throw in a gold pan, or like a mobile homestead or something here. It's pretty filler. What is the creature count? 15? That's a pretty decent creature count. I could throw in the Siphon Insight, but just don't think it is worth running when it's inconsistent to cast, whereas Intimidation campaign is, even if it's inconsistent. I could throw in the gold pan. Whatever the last card is just not going to be particularly exciting. The Muscle. A Buzzard. You know, when green is this low on cards, maybe it's worth taking a peek at black-white as well. I mean, we could try like full control black-white, where we do run Ariet's Lullabies. I don't know, it's just a deck full of mediocre removal, really. Just to get to 1 bomb out of the white. I guess the other green cards are really solid, like Paladin and Naturalist, Rutstein and Pillage, Abrupt Decay as well. Yeah, I feel like green just gives us more than white. Even though white gives us some stuff. Yeah. I really just want to look at Golgari and Rakdos here, I think. I'll just put the gold pan in. So, fine little Golgari deck with an Intimidation campaign splash is the core deck we're probably running, but I want to look at the Outlaws deck as well. At the very least, we'll have that in our back pocket as something we can pivot onto. If our opponent just has stronger late game than us and we need to just pray to outrace them, then maybe the Rakdos deck is how we outrace them. I don't think we do some weird black-red splash green. I think for black-red, all our best red cards are really aggressive, and we don't want to have a dirtily mana base in the slightest. Plus, some of our best black cards when we're aggressive are the Forsaken Miners, which also means we have even more aggressive cards in the deck and really don't want to dirtle around. Even though they can tutor for Gisa, I kind of don't like the Servants in the more aggressive build. Just run all 2 and 3 power 2 mana creatures here. Yeah, maybe. I think Mind Raiders are our weakest 3-drops. Not that they're particularly bad, but our other 3 mana cards are really good. Same with like Rooftop Assassins at 4 mana. Gigapede's a little weird when we're super aggressive as well. A little expensive. We did like this and just made the curve as low as possible. And this looks solid. This isn't actually as exciting as I thought it was going to be. This looks like a pretty medium aggro deck. It's just lacking a little bit on cheap removal. We have 3 removal spells. 3 mana, 3 mana, and 4 mana. We don't have any really efficient combat tricks like Skullduggery or anything. We had 1 quick draw. So I think it just struggles a little bit at actually clearing a path when our opponent establishes a good blocker. Like they play the 4 mana 4/4 Vigilance or something, and we're just like crying unless we have Take for a Ride in hand, in which case we hope we have enough damage for that to just finish them off, which can happen. Yeah, I mean, it's got fine creatures throughout the curve, but not a ton of great ways to clear a path. And there are some more medium creatures across the curve, you know, 2 mana, 1 power creatures, 1 mana, 1 power creatures. I don't think this is vastly worse than our Golgari deck, but I also don't think it's any better. I still think I prefer the Golgari deck a little bit. But this is definitely another option. And maybe at worst we can sideboard around to this again. But I even don't think it's that much faster than the Golgari build, really, because the core of the deck remains pretty much the same. Where it's just all the good black cards. I guess we don't run the Forsaken Miners in the other build, so that already speeds the deck up. Even without the red cards. Yeah, I mean, this is a fine deck. I think I'm going to keep that in my back pocket for sure. And now that I've seen it and it doesn't look as great as it did in my head, and it did look kind of mediocre, I want to take a look at the black-white just to be diligent here, or to be thorough here. Because maybe because that deck looked a lot weaker on board than it looked in my head, maybe the black-white deck looks a lot stronger in-game than it did in my head. Okay, well, the black-white deck certainly has to splash around and dirtle around a little bit, because, I mean, well, what black cards are we not running right now? Okay, I guess we can play some mediocre black cards to get there. Never mind. Yeah, we can go still just 2-color here. Okay, no overzealous muscle for sure. We drop the buzzards, probably. 2 more cards. Maybe the lullabies. This is almost more exciting than the black-red deck. Actually, drop the neutralize the guards. Those are really narrow. We'll keep 1 lullaby. It almost looks like the same deck to me as the black-red deck. This one's just a little more removal heavy instead of a little more creature heavy. I don't think there's a super clear path here. And then there's always the option, as there is in Sealed, of going with a less consistent, worse mana base to up the power level of the cards a little bit. But it does mean stumbling on your mana and not being as efficient as possible in casting all of your spells. Getting stuck off of a certain color for a few turns, having to wait to cast your early spells till later in the game, stuff like that. Just don't think it's really worth doing that here, because the deck's not going to be that much stronger if we do some weird Mardu abomination playing all 3 of these colors. Nor is it the other way around with the Sultai or the Jund or anything like that. I kind of like just going with our Golgari deck at the core. I mean, we can go back to like bread and butter sealed magic there with that deck of just play your colors where you're playing the most rares. Some of these aren't really bomb rares, like Abrupt Decays and Pillage the Bog, but this is the most top-heavy deck in terms of rarity because we have Decay and Pillage and Bristlebud Farmer. By getting access to green here, that's 3 different really good cards, all of which happen to be rares or mythics. Again, it doesn't look much better or much worse than the other decks, but I think it's my favorite of them. It's got the best mana base for splashing around. Got multiple crime lands as well, which is nice. To work with the Gisa. Yeah, we didn't have a black-red duel at all, which is kind of disappointing. No black-white fixing for any combinations there. I guess I do have a red-green duel if we want to try to splash in a tiny bit of red, but the red wasn't really here because of a splash. None of our red cards individually are particularly powerful, except like Great Train Heist, which costs a ton of red mana that's not splashable. It's really just the Vial Smasher that was good. And that's not super splashable. You want to play that on turn 2 before you play any other Outlaws. Splashes should be the kind of cards that you're okay with casting later in the game because you're okay with waiting until you find one of your 4 sources of that color to cast them. Not really cool waiting on Vial Smasher until we've already cast a bunch of Outlaws. So yeah, I mean, I don't even think we could play the Desert just because it commits a crime, I guess, but I think we're doing decent on that with our other non-creatures to not need a fully off-color land. Well, half off-color. Just a tapped forest whenever we don't need to commit a crime. Yeah, again, I think the power level of these decks is very, very similar. This one is just my favorite. It is just the simplest as well, getting the most of our rares. We're gonna roll with this one. All right, here's like the final deck list for today. We're on some Golgari mid-rangey mush. As always in Sealed, there's just gonna be some mid-rangey mush pile. We're just trying to play our best rares and get a lot of mileage out of them. So here we have Bristlebud Farmer. Excellent card, a 4-mana 5/5 that comes with 2 food tokens, and it can sacrifice them to draw some cards by milling 3 and then putting one of them back into our hand. We've got the Lively Dirge that can tutor out the Bristlebud Farmer. It shoves it into the graveyard, but then it reanimates it, so that's pretty excellent. And we have the best rare in our entire sealed pool, Gisa, which is spitting out 1,000,000 zombies as we're committing crimes. Very, very hard to beat Gisa. She's also got Ward, so your opponent has to spend a bunch of mana and life to even target her in the first place. Super excellent card, and she's going to be great with the amount of crimes that we're committing from removal spells like Abrupt Decay, Murder, Consuming Ashes, to playing deserts like Soured Springs and Festering Gulch, to some of our creatures like Ambush Gigapedes and Rooftop Assassins. So Gisa is probably the best card we have in our deck, the best card we have in our sealed pool. But yeah, we've got that green power as well with cards like Bristlebud Farmer. And green also gives us Pillage the Bog to help tutor for the Gisa, and Abrupt Decay for efficient removal. So pretty solid looking deck here. We'll see how it all plays out for us as we head into the gameplay. Here we are on the play for game number 1. Bloodseeker into Vault Plunder is a fine start. As you can see, I did decide off screen to run the off-color Desert just for another way to commit a crime, because once I counted up the crimes, I was like, might be a tiny bit low for a deck that has both Gisa and the Intimidation Campaign, 2 cards that really, really, really want those crimes to be committed. Alright, find a Murder. They got the 2-mana counter here. Ooh, specifically the uncommon, the Essence Capture. Well, at least we got that without them getting a +1/+1 counter, but that is tragic. Here's the Drover Grizzly. It failed forwarding to bounce it. They get to surveil one as well because of their deserts. Need to start hitting some lands here pretty soon or we're going to have some issues. Alright, we did find a black source, best land we could hit, and we are specifically looking for lands right now, so I'm into that. I can just murder and keep poking them, or I can Consuming Ashes specifically to surveil here. I think against black, because black has pretty good graveyard recursion, I'd rather murder. But I could also just recast the Drover Grizzly. Honestly. Skip hitting them for one turn to try to hit them harder later. This does let them keep the cost reduction from Geyser Drake for next turn. Skewer the critics on the 4-2. They're down to 3 cards in hand. Visage Bandit, another Geyser Drake then, sure. There's the Intimidation campaign. We do not have the blue source, though. We don't have one of the 4. I think Surveil is valuable enough to use this here. Okay, there's the blue source and a Pillage for a tutor. Actually do really like these as draws. We play the blue source, then we play Campaign plus Pillage the turn after. So next turn we have a murder held up. So if they play anything too threatening, we can just murder, and if they don't, like I'm at 22, I can take a couple hits from Geyser Drake. We can just hold on to the murder. Prickly Pear? That's more damage for sure. They just plan the heist. Oh, Lockpicker? Recast removal. Well, and I guess if I don't just trade Bloodseeker off, it's just going to get removal spelled from Lockpicker anyway. So we send it in. Because they're not going to want the Lockpicker to just sit there forever. They would prefer to get another creature on board and get that effect immediately. This way we force them to take the trade here, and that makes them keep that 2-3 in exile for a while. Because otherwise it just doesn't do anything on its enter the battlefield effect, and its enter the battlefield effect is pretty valuable, so should get them to wait here, and that gives us time to just Intimidation campaign for insane value over time. And use that to grind out the game. I think this should be pretty great. Another Prickly Pear off the top is definitely good, but not good enough to fight through Intimidation campaign double Gigapede combo nonsense. Pillage the Bog. Top 10. This is a pretty disappointing top 10. This is mostly land. I guess we just take a land at that point, so we can start playing Gigapedes that are very good with the Intimidation campaign. The tap land. I haven't played a land this turn, so we just grab the tap land, I guess. Ancient Naturalist. Play the Naturalist and still have a murder up. Just on Gigapede time. Kill 2 of their creatures. But then they Lockpicker and Skewer the Gigapede, but that's fine. I've already killed 2 of their cards with it and picked up Intimidation campaign. Oh, gross. They hit the Sharpshooter? Oh, no Lockpicker value this turn then. Really don't want to mill my Gesa. I'm just vibing again. We're just gonna assassin a 1/1. Get them to lockpicker away the assassin now. Unfortunately, assassin can only target creatures that have been dealt damage, so I can't get a free crime out of it, even if I'm not technically using the ability. All their creatures have 3 toughness, so yeah, I was gonna say they might not even care enough to lockpick or shoot the assassin here. And they don't. 4, 5, 6, 7. I could have an 8th mana playing this land. Won't have the mana to recast Intimidation Campaign here. Or to do anything else, so let's just Gigapede then. And it's better on blocks. Just gonna lockpicker the assassin now. Yep. Goodbye, assassin. Sorry, friend. Commit a crime, pick up Intimidation Campaign, kill a sharpshooter, cast an Intimidation Campaign, gain my life back, up to 10. No crime this turn, I can murder and recast Intimidation Campaign. Almost hit decline, that would have been bad. It's now 11 to 8, and we have a Bristlebud Farmer coming up. I'll offer the trade then. We're going to drop a Bristlebud holding up a Snakeskin Veil, and that is going to win us the game. Most likely. Double food token from it as well, that's a gain 6. At this point, even if I mill Gisa, we're winning, so... Oh, wow. I forgot we have a Rutstein in this deck. I actually should have played Naturalist more aggressively. Because the odds of milling both Gisa and the Rutstein are really low. Both of those being in the top 3. So if we just mill the Gisa, we could draw the Rutstein later, and that would be like top deck Gisa still. Alright, that is good to know for the future. And just slam out the Naturalist. Don't play it mega safe. Alright, well, Grixis control stuff. I am pretty happy with our matchup already. We've got the weird mediocre Rakdos Outlaw aggro to slide into, or the black-white. When it comes to pure sideboard pieces, we have neutralized the guards, which works against their mercenary tokens. That's it, though. We saw 2 1/1s out of their entire deck so far, both off Prickly Pear. That was it. Doesn't seem worth it. What else did we have? Buzzards if we need a little more flying. A little more flying wouldn't be bad. They have a bunch of 2/3 flyers, but a 2/1 flyer is super bad, so we would need the enter the battlefield trigger for this card to matter. It seems a little too narrow. For green, I guess reach for the sky. I'll play one over a gold pan. Sure. It's goofy, but jump into the sky and block one of the drakes, I guess. It's goofy, but so is gold pan. Neither of those look particularly great. Sultai Crime Control continues. We have Intimidation Campaign and a Gisa in this hand. There's a Bloodseeker to commit the crime. Plot the Bandit, so when they play a good creature, they'll have 2 copies of it. Lively Dirge means we just top decked our other bomb. This is a 5-mana version of Bristlebud Farmer. Alternatively, it could pick up a Servant and a Bloodseeker, if that ends up being how we want to play it. Jace Reawakened.
Now I must step out of the shadows.
So we have to make sure Jace doesn't ultimate.
I'm always
Well, that's it, really. As long as Jace doesn't ultimate, we should be fine. We can Bloodseeker our opponent here for Intimidation Campaign, and we can pillage the bog for a land to make sure we can Gisa soon.
I'm in control here.
It feels like the play. Here's the Bristlebud, but again, I have the way to tutor for it in hand here. Yeah, we played land for turn. One of these forests was land for turn, so we need an untapped land to play Gisa next turn. I don't think I want to play her next turn, though. But I could go, like, recast Intimidation Campaign, play Bloodseeker. Blue, black, 1, and another black source for that? Sure. I think we still want an untapped land here pretty badly. If we had the 5th land in hand, I would be happy to take a crime land, so turn 6 I can cast Gisa, then immediately commit a crime. But I don't know, they only have 2 cards left in their hand, and they didn't seem removal heavy game 1. So this might be a matchup where we're supposed to just slam her down. Yeah, they plot that thing. They have 1 card left in hand to deal with Gisa. I think we just cast her. While they're tapped out of blue. They had counter spells, but that's all we saw. Oh no, they had a bunch of burn. But it was like 3 damage burn that wouldn't kill a 4/4. Eh. We ball. There we go. If they do have an explosive derailment in their sealed pool, then that will get the Gisa. It's 3 mana to deal 4 to a creature. They have to spend the 2 mana for the ward. But yeah, if they don't kill Gisa, she will win us the game here, even through a Jace. Well, that was a really good turn for them, though. Massive zombies. Oh no, okay, maybe not. Gisa's gonna have to fight her way through double Outlaw Stitcher. It's tremendously threatening. Just plot the Lockpicker. I can bounce Gisa, I guess. But we can still recast her. Alright, well, this is gonna be interesting then. I have no way to commit a crime at instant speed. So we just need to commit 1 crime here for sure. I think I really need to play stuff to the board here to where I plunder myself. When I said we don't have a way to commit a crime at instant speed, I meant that's cheap enough to play this and do it. Yes, I can Gigapede for a crime at instant speed, but that's 1 crime. I mean, crime during our turn and crime during their turn is what I'm trying to say there. Yeah, we're already going to be way ahead in value. Let's just make sure we have enough stuff on board to not get demolished here. Let's go for just stat lines. I guess what I don't love is giving them more options for the flashback, but it looks like we didn't hit any more options for them anyway. Okay, I can Death Touch the 8/8. Because they don't have burn, they only have a bounce. I guess they can bounce the servant. It's probably not good for them though. I guess the real flaw here, since they got to hit double Outlaw Stitcher, is that there's like no way to hit Jace. So Jace is gonna ultimate eventually. Yeah, this game's gonna be insane. It's gonna be an ultimating Jace versus a consistent Gisa. I somehow don't feel favored here, but also this game's like so insane that I don't even know how this end game's gonna work out. We'll see. They are gonna tap out to bounce Gisa, sure. Yeah, I guess they're aggressive enough to just try to end this game real quick. We can't find more cheap crimes. We've got easy blocks here, though. Down to 11. And I have 3 blockers up. Alright, that's not a cheap crime. 7 mana. Geese and a 2-drop. I don't have a 2-drop. So I can only cast 1 spell no matter how I play it. It's 4 mana to dirge stuff back. Could Intimidation campaign and get back a Death Toucher and a Bloodseeker. But then I'm committing crimes without Geese on board. I kind of feel like I'm in a position I have to just recast Geese and hold off for a turn. Which is not great. But then next turn we have a really good turn. So they could ultimate Jace next turn. Double up like 1 spell. Because they have 1 card in hand. Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to touch Jace again, but it'll still be a little while before the ultimate is super explosive. Okay, if they have instant speed removal for Gisa, we're already in a bad spot. We can't really grind this out without a Gisa on board. So I'm not going to block in a way to where I can kill that even if they kill Gisa. Okay. They have a Wolverine coming. They could ult Jace, play the Wolverine. That's 2 Wolverines, and really hope they exile cheap spells. I guess. I think I'm playing Intimidation campaign and going to crime time again. No Bristlebud Farmer. Say crime time. Milled another Wolverine. Four, 5, 7, 8. If we top deck a basic, campaign into Gigapede is sweet. They're going oh, uh-oh, they top deck a spell then? I was gonna say, if this is just Wolverine and they're going blind, it can't be that terrifying. Okay, unless they hit exactly spell. Well, okay, I guess it doesn't matter what they draw, because both Wolverines hit a spell. Wow, yeah. Seems good. Didn't hit a land. It's actually huge in a bad way. I guess, yeah, again, we don't need the gigapede value that much. Plot a paladin and still rooftop assassin next turn. I need to just block like everything though. I have to like just gigapede for as many blockers as possible at this point. If they have the +2/+0 at everybody, it's over, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blockers against... Oh, Lord have mercy. No. Oh. 5 mercenaries? Alright. Gisa's still dumb enough that this is still absolutely a game of Magic. I think. Sort of. Double Scale Storm Summoner, though, is silly. Okay. I'm just gonna stop as much damage as I can and then whatever. So 3, 3, that's 3. Everything else is 2 or 1, right? So stop 2, stop 2, stop 2, stop 2. We'll be taking 1, 2, 3 damage, 4 'cause duelist. I think I can afford to put this on the 1/1 then and lose less creatures. Okay. There we go. Now I can gain 1 life and then gigapede still. Just annoy our opponent out of the game. Go to the end step. Clear out a 3/1, right? Think so. I guess they have 12 cards left. We could also mill them out. Eventually. Unless I get too excited about my intimidation campaign. Still 4 mana up for a rooftop assassin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Feel like we can send like 2 of these in. Commit a crime here with the rooftop assassin to clear one of the big creatures out if they block with something big. Okay, cool. I'll kill the 2/2 and I'll kill the 2/4. The amount of time we have been allowed to keep geese on board here is just criminal, but it's so hard for blue-red to deal with. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 toughness. 2, 6, 6 plus 12, 18, plus 12, 30, 31, 34 power, minus, so 34 minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 34 minus 12 is 22 minus 4, 18 minus 3. 18 minus 3 is lethal. It's 15. Yeah. We hit for a tiny bit more too with Intimidation Campaign. Because they lose one more life. This is onboard lethal if their last card in hand is nothing. They've got the Duelist, at least. For something. And no matter what, they're going to have to chump with enough stuff that I don't think they are going to like crack back for lethal. Especially not after a Paladin cast. Worst case scenario. If they have an instant, they use it to kill the Grizzly like right now. Or we're threatening the lethal attack. Well, they have to use it by the time we move to combat, at least. After we saddle the Grizzly. Because that's how we're giving the whole board trample. Alright. Let's see the trick. There is no trick. And we start off 2-0 with a victory in round number 1. Here we are for round 2 on the play. Well, we know how we're starting the game and we know how we're ending it. We've got Bloodseeker into late game Gigabeads. Gold Pan Bloodseeker's kind of nice. Buffing up a lifelinker can be big. Got the Snakeskin Veil too if we hit land 3. We'll get to hold that up with a treasure token. Let's go. If they don't immediately kill the Bloodseeker, it's going to be a 3/3 lifelinker with a Snakeskin Veil to protect it. Speaking of Snakeskin Veil, it's the mirror match. Vadmir. Whenever they commit a crime, put a counter on Vadmir. At 4 more counters, gets Manus lifelink, so we need to deal with that quickly, but we can't, sadly. So they just play cheap removal on Bloodseeker, and then Vadmir's big enough to trade. And things get worse from there. At 4 out of 6 mana towards Gigapedes if I keep the treasure. Still think if they try to remove Bloodseeker, I have to Snakeskin Veil here. Vadmir will still get the counter, but then Bloodseeker will be a 4/4 against a 3/3, and we get a huge lifelink swing. Okay. Luckily, they don't commit a crime right now. We just play a 3/2 Death Touch, which we can still just trade Bloodseeker into. And now I am literally 1 land away from Gigapede number 1. And I can Snakeskin Veil without cracking the treasure. Could have moved the gold pan over. The problem with that isn't that I'm using my mana right now, it's that I'm going to be using it next turn. Right, then it's going to be difficult to move the gold pan back to the Bloodseeker, because if I top deck a basic, I would way rather play a Gigapede than move a gold pan around. Alright, they got the crime for the menacing Vadmir, so he comes right on in. Back down to 21. We didn't hit land for Gigapede because they milled it. That's unfortunate. I guess we can test them, see if they have double Snakeskin Veil over there. With this Consuming Ashes. Do you have double Snakeskin Veil? Nope. It doesn't matter what we surveil because we're tutoring. But I will throw a beefy creature in her grave in case we get our Rutstein. It probably was just better to mill the land and that's it. But, I don't know. Oh wow, what a draw. What a draw. Top deck the crime. Seems good. Yeah, there's the concession. Worst part about that is that we top decked the crime land to go with that. Gotta feel bad for our opponent. I don't think our opponent will ever let Servant of the Stinger in again, because now they know if it ever touches them, it's finding Gisa. If it ever touches them after we've committed a crime, to be fair. Alright, so mirror match. Snakeskin Veil looks great here. Is there any green or black cards we can sideboard around? I'm definitely not flip-flopping the deck or anything. No, nothing to neutralize. Muscle's mediocre, nothing to reach for the sky. Yeah, we just run it back. On to game 2 of round number 2. This is not really keepable. I think it's too flooded, doing nothing until turn 4 here. This is much better. I could go for it again. Just go for the Gisa here. Servant into Intimidation Campaign into Abrupt Decay. I don't know, 1/3 Death Touch and a 2/2 Lifelink are like not... They're somewhat comparable in how decent they are early. If we're going to be on a more defensive, grindy game with Intimidation Campaign. So even if we don't get the Gisa Tutor, I feel like the Servant's going to be solid here. And obviously, if we do, it's insane. Alright, they had a 2-mana instant they didn't want to cast. They might have Deserts due for -2/-2. If they play a Desert, it's now -3/-3, and they'll cast it on the Servant. They probably wait until we try to commit a crime here, and then do it. But I'm not trying to commit a crime, so let's just get 1 damage in before we tap out for this. So if they do kill the Servant, it'll be in the end step at least. I need another green source, but if we hit one, now I have Bristlebud Farmer turn 4, which is excellent. They're about to cast something out of reach of Abrupt Decay, because they have 4 mana and Abrupt Decay hits 3 mana cards. Unless they're casting a cheap white spell. Maybe they just didn't have the right color of mana in the first 3 turns. Freeze Strider Lookout. Alright, well, I lied, and that is crimeable. Crime? Intimidation Campaign to hand. Grab a Gisa. Oh, are we really gonna do it to them twice? Is this fair and balanced Magic? Saving the Festering Gulch for the Gisa turn, obviously. Vraska the Silencer. Solid. Okay. We don't play Gisa till turn 6, obviously, so we can play her and the crime at the same time. We did hit a forest to play Bristlebud Farmer. It's actually a pretty solid one for them to kill with Vraska on board. They'll get the treasure token and 2 foods, because they get the enter the battlefield effect, even if the farmer is only a treasure token. But as long as Vraska doesn't kill our Gisa, we should be fine. If Vraska gets the extra Gisa value, that's going to be mega bad. Yeah, do we actually play around the Vraska to the point where we don't even play Gisa until that's off the board? Maybe, honestly. Yeah, let's just Bristlebud, swing, get that value. Pick up another crime land. Kill Vraska first and then Rooftop Assassin the Giant Beaver. Okay, I can Rooftop Assassin the Beaver, I can Gisa Crime, but I can still Gisa Crime next turn, so let's just Assassin the Beaver. Cactarantula. Sorry, Rooftop Assassin. Gisa Crime. Then Intimidation Campaign Crime next turn. Yep, there's the Buried in the Garden for the Gisa. We still Campaign plus Crime to stay ahead on cards. And Gisa's exiled. And Vraska's already gone, so we don't have to worry about them having our Gisa abilities against us. Trover Grizzly. If I play an untap land, I have 5 mana, still not enough for Gigapede, so let's just pick up the campaign. Next turn I can play campaign and Gigapede at the same time. So I guess the 4-2 doesn't really do anything against a 6-5 anyway, though. I'll just cash in the card draw immediately again. Intimidation Campaign is so good. I'm very, very happy with our Intimidation Campaign splash. How it's played out in these first couple rounds, it has been absurd. It's worth whatever amount of missed mana we've had. Okay, we definitely outrace 6 a turn with Intimidation Campaign and a bunch of lifelink going on. Honestly, kind of want to just main phase this Gigapede so they can't get lifelink crimes off of the Apothecary. Fake your own death, okay. Well, they would still need to top deck crimes to get the lifelink trigger then. Also, the main deck just tapped Forest for another crime has been really good too. Okay. That's pretty funny. I don't actually have a crime in my hand, so while I can pillage guaranteed for Honest Rutstein to recast Gisa, we're not going to commit a crime alongside her anyway. There might be something better to hit. 6-5 and a 3-2 on their board. There might be some way to find lethal here. No. It's probably still just Rutstein, Gisa. Yeah. They don't have to worry about her right now, but... Oh, Gisa's exiled. I'm a fool. I'm a buffoon. They're at 9 life, though. I think I can just send the whole board in, then. At this point. They're down to 1 blocker, 5 life. Just attack with everybody next turn and kill them. Alright, that was definitely the wrong tutor. I just totally forgot that Geese is in exile and not the graveyard. She's buried in the garden, of course. But we were so far ahead there. It does not matter in the end. We are now 2-0. Guaranteed some really solid gems out of the event, I think. Because you're out at a single round loss. So I think it only takes 2 wins to break even, right? Yeah, we're in the money, actually. If we weren't paying with play-in points. So really good conversion of our play-in points into 4,500 gems at minimum. But if we can win just one more round, that is the maximum prize out that I really care about here, which is that we get the 6,000 gems. So one more win and we're at the maximum gem payout. But if we do manage to get 2 more wins, then I guess we'll have some qualifier weekend videos for you all as well. But we'll see how it pans out heading into round number 3. This is a pretty slow hand, especially on the draw, but I think with Bristlebud Farmer in it, we still keep. And we just hope to top deck cheap plays. It's a cheap-ish play. It gets us started before Bristlebud Farmer, at least. Playing against black-white, so far only a Raven of Fell Omens from our opponent. Alright, we find another crime land. Will be nice to hold for later. You know, I'm under a small enough amount of pressure, I think, to skip out on Bristlebud Farmer for a turn. Just so I have Snakeskin Veil up for it immediately. So let's get our tap land out of the way. Ooh, Sandstorm Verge. Shut off some blocks. Yeah, we're against black-white and they've cast nothing for a really long time, so I imagine their hand is either all lands or all removal. So we just hope the removal isn't efficient enough that they get to double removal spell the Bristlebud Farmer immediately. We hold up the Snakeskin Veil, so they do have to double removal spell it. And it looks like it is efficient enough. They just murder it now, then play Sorcery Speed removal during their turn. But at least we rip 2 removal spells out of their hand for later. Whoa! We don't get the kill yet? Well, before we do anything else, let's make sure we have the mana to play an Ambush Gigapede if that matters. But then we try to get the Bristlebud Farmer value. It was 1 removal spell in hand. Jeez, yeah, so now the Bristlebud Farmer just draws our next massive threat. They could have the 7-mana board wipe mythic, but our hand is pretty resilient to that, so I'm just going to slam the Paladin down anyway. If they wipe the whole board, we have a Gigapede and a Vault Plunderer to follow up with. Abrupt Decay to clear out one of their blockers. Actually, an end-step Gigapede followed by Soured Springs plus Vault Plunderer could turn into just surprise lethal out of nowhere if they stay at 8 life. Right there at 8, they take 1 from Plunderer, 1 from Springs, 6 from Gigapede. Okay, that is not a board wipe. It's going to make me sack 2 creatures, so obviously keep the biggest trampler then. Was a crime, so they gained a life with the Raven. Hit for 6, 7, 8. 1 damage off. Any way to get that 1 damage? Gold Pan? That's not a creature though, so I can't pick up the Gold Pan. I guess I need to probably just recast the life gain to be safe. I think that's better than like sacking the food for life. Let's sack the food for a card again. But we Rutstein recast the life gain creature. Back to 10. 11 trampling power out. There's the concession. All right. They had a Raven. That was one flying creature. They cast 3 spells all game. I think they did. Murder, Rush of Dread, and a Raven. Yeah, that was just supreme flood from our opponent. So we didn't even really get that much information to sideboard around, even if we did have a better sideboard than triple reach for this guy. Let's just get back in there. Alright, this is unfortunately a mulligan, as much as I love these cards, Bristlebud Farmer and Intimidation Campaign in particular. It's not a keepable amount of mana. Opponent's on a mulligan as well, at least. We're on the draw. We need 1 black source to hold up an Abrupt Decay and any 2 lands to get to Bristlebud Farmer. His hand is sketchy, for sure. But I think on the draw we can take that gamble. It's about as risky of a gamble as mulliganing to 5. We could get a more consistent 5-card hand. But it would be a 5-card hand, being the big flaw. I don't know, it has 2 double blacks. I mean, we just ditch one of those, right? We get rid of Murder and then keep. I guess our opponent's on a mull to 6, right? So, like, mulliganing to 5, we're really only down 1 card still. I just hate mulling both the Farmer and the Gisa, but when we've only got basically 1 color... That's why you always keep the 6. Bloodseeker into Plunderer, Rutstein later in the game if we can hit a black source. If we can't hit a black source, we can't hit a black source, and we would die with either hand. It's literally the same hand. It's literally the same hand without a Bristlebud Farmer. Ooh, they get the double Raven into Crime Land start? Alright. I think Arena wants to dole out its justice here. They're like, alright, you got pretty dang lucky in your first couple rounds. I think it's time to flip that on you with an auto loss here. Oh, they milled our swamp too. Okay. Well, now I can pretend I kept the 6-card hand. See, there's the Farmer. Just pretend we drew this stuff. And this is our green-blue land, not just an island. Cool. Well, all I really could have done was keep the 7, in which case I die. Keep the 6, in which case if I draw exactly the same cards I did this time, I still die. Mold to 4, in which case we've mulled to 4, you just die. Yeah, I just don't think it matters there. Obviously, with perfect hindsight, we keep the 6. And then we did... No, we drew 1 land that game, actually. So it wouldn't have mattered. The 6 was still a 2-lander. So even if we kept the 6 and drew the exact same cards, we wouldn't have had the lands to even cast the Farmer, so nothing would be cast then. It would be the exact same outcome. With the same top decks. Yeah. Well, I guess the 7-card hand would have played out the best for us. But again, it was like 1 spell, really. If I recall correctly. Oh no, that was last game. No, our 7-card hand this game was freaking 1 land. It was a 1-lander. That was definitely not keepable. Okay. Didn't really learn anything else. I mean, they've got a good aggressive curve, but we saw pretty much all those cards last time. They played mostly Ravens. But now we know they have the 2/2 lifelink as well. That's magic, baby. We can't keep a 6-lander either. Okay. We have a playable hand for the first hand and out of 5, and our opponent had to mold a 5. So it looks like we've got a game here. All right. I mean, I guess the first 2 games, really, neither of those really counted. Do this for mana efficiency? I don't think so. With really powerful spells in our deck, I think we wait until that's just like a guaranteed tutor, and then we use it. 2 or fewer. Okay, I have 2 other lands, so that's fine, right? Yeah. Wow. That's bad. That's terrible, Mills. Pillage towards our Rutstein then? Later in the game? I'm gonna wait on it a little bit here. Still. It's Crime Land. It's interesting. Already at almost half the library next turn to search. Okay, they didn't mill Rutstein. Ambush Gigapede. It's pretty big. But I could pillage and cast a Rooftop Assassin here, which is kind of sick. Assassin on Raven is a really good card. There he is. It's ya boy, Honest Rutstein. They're gonna have targeted discard here? Probably not. I'm at 16 life. Let's just do it. Let's get the Gisa mana. Pretty unlikely to have Thoughtseize. There's 2 cards they could have. Thoughtseize or Humiliate, I think. Thoughtseize is mythic. Humiliate's uncommon from the Prosperity Post. I guess there's Binding Negotiators as well. Okay, there's 3 cards, all of which are uncommon or better. That would make me discard Gisa. Prairie Dog is none of those cards. Okay. There's the Lawbringer to kill the Gisa. But I still have the zombies. They pay some life here. I've got all this to take over. And that's enough to get ahead. Oh my god, and a Bristlebud Farmer? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana up. Play Farmer and Assassin and Bloodseeker. If we keep Rutstein around. Bloodseeker. Farmer. And I have Assassin. This still feels pretty wildly ahead. Just some insane cards in this deck. Finding a Bristlebud Farmer now. Lassoed by the Law to exile the Farmer. Pretty good. Still have great attacks on the ground, though. And in the sky from the Assassin. Quoth the Raven, nevermore. Guess losing Rutstein, I only get to cast one of these two creatures at instant speed at a future time. A little bit rough, but I think it's still worth it. I will just cast a Gigapede killing a prairie dog and then send in everybody. I could have cast them both right there, but I really like the element of surprise here against an opponent at this low of life. Again, just in case they have like an absolute board wipe or something. But that is not an absolute board wipe. It's enough to barely survive on board. But Gigapede is enough to win. 0 blockers left for them. And that is officially 3-0. There's kind of only one game of Magic in that match, and that was game 3, because game 1 our opponent was just massively flooded, and game 2 we couldn't cast a single spell after a bunch of mulligans. Wasn't paying attention to how many times my opponent mulliganed in game 1, but it was probably a lot as well. So that was just like a rough variance round, but a rough variance round that ends in our favor and cashes us out with the maximum amount of gems out of this event. If we do manage to win the next round, then we've got another event to play, the qualifier weekend, where we might get even more gems. Really unlikely to actually qualify to anything there, because that's a 2-day best of 3 sealed events. So, you know, if you open a mediocre sealed pool day 1, you're just out. You have to win like 5 or 6 rounds or something without losing 2, maybe even 7 rounds. It's something crazy. And then you have to do it again the day after. You have to open another good sealed pool and go really far. So I don't know. We'll think about that if we get there. We've got another round to play with this deck, and we've made it all the way to the final boss. Win or lose, the final game of Magic for today. All right, here we are for the final round of Magic. We are in game 1 of round number 4. I think on the draw we keep this, because any land gets us the Naturalist to find the first black source. And that's 2 castable spells, and if we find the first black source off Naturalist, that's most of the hand being castable. Everything we'd want to play early anyway. It's obviously not perfect. Abrupt Decay as the first draw is awkward. Some more black spells with no black mana. Playing against Jund, and there's the black mana. Now the hand is not perfect, but very close. And Naturalist can put in the work to get it there. Ooh, that's a big Outcaster Greenblade already, and even if I kill it, it gets them that extra value, finding their next land, which is another desert, so that'll be a 4/5. Well, pretty happy with the Abrupt Decay here. Thank you very much for the Swamp being on top of the deck. Alright, Naturalist, you've got to find a land here. We need to not miss a land drop with this hand. There's a land drop, but non-black sources is awkward. Awkward for sure. Take the Crime and play it here, or do I take the untapped land so I could play Rooftop Assassin? I guess because the red source isn't valuable at all, we just take the untapped source. The only reason it would be better to take the Crime land is if I top deck exactly Swamp and then exactly another basic, so that I could go basic, basic, and then Gisa plus Crime land, which is really unlikely, but maybe it is how things go here. Got Magda and Duelist. Don't really want to attack into that. Also don't really want to spend removal on Magda, though. Maybe attacking in for a Rooftop Assassin kind of play could be really good. Well, no, it couldn't be. Not with a 2/3. right? Because if they block with both, I just kill Magda, and then I guess it just makes it so if they do want to just bounce Duelist off Patient Naturalist, we can get a free kill, so might have been okay to send in. Seems decent to hold them off as well, though. Because we've got a powerful late game hand with Gisa into Gigapede. Plotted a Cunning Coyote for major damage next turn. And they're just going to pass from there. 1-3 reach. I don't think the lifelink is super valuable. I'm going to do some surveilling here. Get rid of the Magda treasure producer. And get one treasure off the Duelist. If they do it right now. Paladin and an island. I don't hate either of these draws. I do wish I kept the crime land, though, because we did hit the multiple lands in a row we would need. Because then I could go island this next turn and have the crime land still. Alright, I think I'm going to play Paladin next turn. Try to draw removal on our other stuff before we cast Gisa. But land 6 is fine for Gigapede, so we keep it, I think. Arbristle Bandit. 2 cards left in hand, plus Coyote. Got a lot of fixing there, so they are splashing around for all the rares. Probably. They just pass still. Well, let's hold up Gigapede as a combat trick and see what happens when we poke them with Paladin. Just take it. Interesting. Kind of makes me feel like a Gisa at this rate. I don't know, flashing and Gigapede in their end step is still going to be big damage. Doesn't put Gisa at any risk here. But, I don't know. If they kill Gisa, it's also pretty big damage. They spend a lot of mana to kill her and lose life at the same time. And then we can just send Paladin again with Gigapede backup. Either line is going to convert into a good amount of damage to them without a really sturdy blocker as a follow-up play. Alright, time to kill Gisa, I think. Yeah, tap Bandit first because it's going to untap when they target Gisa. Red mana, so just explosive derailment, sure. Gisa is exactly small enough for that. But they do go down to 11, and now they don't have that to kill the Paladin. So they go down to 6 when we send that in. Seems big. Drop the Coyote. Well, it looks like just as a blocker at this point, honestly. If it's only just buffing a hard Bristle Bandit, it's just getting enough blocks to kill Paladin, maybe? Looks like it. Now we have Murder and Gigapede backup. 20 to 11, I'm going to send both of these in. If they want to kill Paladin, that means Naturalist gets in for 2. Alright, show me the trick of yours. They need Snakeskin Veil here. I guess it could be any combat trick. If they just add to its toughness, it'll be fine. But we'll still have a 6-2 around either way. Maybe there was merit to just saying okay and making them play their trick first, right? Because this is already going to be a bad enough position for them. We would kill everything except their 1-1, and if their board state is just a 1-1 after this, it's already pretty good for us. I probably should have just, like, let it happen, you know? Because whoever's the first person to play their instant speed trick is always the one to get got. Yeah, first strike to the whole board. I mean, we still kill the thing. I guess that exact trick means the combat ends like the same way either way. But most tricks they could have had in hand there, it would have been bad for me that I played Gigapede before they played the trick. So I think I should have waited. In that scenario, I don't think it actually matters, because we ended up still just killing the coyote, and that would have happened whether or not they cast that first or I cast my thing first. So weird that it worked out fine, but I think that was the wrong play there. 7 mana so I can assassin plus murder. Alright, well we just attack in and rooftop assassin the duelist. We're just going to bounce off here. And then we'll finish it off. And we get to hold up a murder for what do they play? Most things that have a really scary immediate impact is because they have a really good enter the battlefield effect, which murder can't stop anyway, so I think I'm going to go Grizzly post-combat here. I'm going to go Assassin plus Grizzly. And then I still get to save the murder, I just have to wait till my next turn to actually murder whatever they play. I don't think there's much merit to... Unless they do this, then I get to hold up murder or rooftop assassin. I was going to say, I don't think there's much merit to holding up murder over playing another good creature there, because the likelihood that murder is that much better during their turn than ours is pretty low. Because again, if we're talking about them having a bomb that has great immediate impact, it's because it has a good enter the battlefield effect, which gets us whether or not we murder it at instant speed. At 19 life, even if they have a big hasty bomb rare, we just take the hit, kill it in our turn. And that's not what most of the immediate impact rares in this format do. They're like Roxanne, where they hit the board and enter the battlefield, make meteorites and stuff. I can't do anything about that, sure. I'm gonna have to murder a Deadeye Duelist. I think I have to just keep Rooftop Assassin in hand, because if I play it out, it's gonna keep bouncing off Duelist anyway. So I might as well keep sending a Naturalist, and if that keeps bouncing off Duelist, eventually... Or if that keeps threatening to bounce off the Duelist, eventually it actually will, and when it bounces off, we just kill the Duelist. Okay, bounce off. Unless their last card in hand is a trick, in which case we can ruin that with murder. Okay, cool. So now we clear a path for Assassin and Naturalist to get in. All they have left is a chump blocker. We still have a murder for their first good draw. Oh, we don't have the murder anymore, but now they have no board. We still have all our stuff. Alright, they're completely playing off the top. Well, we just hit a land, but it looks like they did too. They have one draw step to get out of this. Free Strider Commando puts them to 1 and not 0. Oh my god. Such a rude draw. You gotta be kidding me. Alright. We start off round 4, 1 and 0. So they're a really splashy deck here. We saw green, red, and black mostly, so Jund stuff. We saw Collective Defiance, Great Train Heist for some big bombs. I think the matchup looks pretty good. I wouldn't really consider Collective Defiance to be a bomb. But, again, really bomb-heavy format. I have a feeling we saw the weaker half of their deck. We didn't get to see their big scary creatures yet. Yeah, just a bunch of pretty small creatures and a couple good instant sorceries for the most part. There was the one really big green blade, I guess. Oh yeah, the Magda was pretty good too. I'm pretty happy with the matchup again. I kind of like just running it back. Doesn't look like a neutralize the guards matchup or anything. Or a reach for the sky matchup. Just get back in there for game number 2 of the final round. Alright, here we are for game 2 of the final round. Our opponent is on the play. Got Servant into Bloodseeker to tutor for Gisa. Rutstein to bring back the Servant, or we can Bloodseeker ourselves for Rutstein. This is a really synergistic, really strong start. There's the Hard Bristle Bandit, turn 2. Let's start with the Servant. We don't have the second black source for Gisa yet. That could be an issue. Maybe we just take the Bristlebud Farmer then. We can curve into it perfectly here, and it's still a great play. It also survives the main removal spell we saw from our opponent. Explosive Derailment for 4 damage. It survives Collective Defiance for 4 damage. A 5/5 is a pretty big stat line against them. Bristlebud Farmer might even just actually be better than Gisa against them. Probably not, because Gisa is so insane, but without the second black source yet, and the fact that we can curve into it, might be worth it. Okay, if they Collective Defiance the Servant, then it's no longer an option. There's Binding Negotiation. Probably cited it in. Get rid of the bombs. Well, there's no bombs in hand. Now they're down to 3 cards, and Gigapede or Rutstein as a 2-for-1 is going to put us ahead in card advantage this game. If one of those cards isn't a bomb of their own, I'm actually perfectly satisfied with this start for this game of Magic. Now we even have the Lively Dirge. Bring back a Servant and a Bloodseeker. If we wait till 5 mana, we turn that into a Bristlebud Farmer, which is nice. Don't hate this start. Sharpshooter on Bloodseeker, that's very good for our opponent. Gonna get them a bit ahead now. 2 cards left in hand, though. Still need to top deck 1 more land in the next couple turns. That is not the land. It's a 2/2 reach, isn't it? Yeah, that's rough. If that wasn't a 2/2 reach, or sorry, if that wasn't a 3/3 reach, I think I would hold up the Rooftop Assassin here. But now it's like, getting a 2/2 flying lifelink on the board isn't even very good against a 3/3 reach anyway, so. Hello, Gisa. I probably should just hold here. It's less suspicious. Just overexcited about Rooftop Assassin. They're just going to shoot the Sheriff? Sure. Well, they're out of cards now, then. I can lifelink trade into the 4/2, and then if I hit basically any land, I am in a great position. We can get a Bristlebud Farmer at worst and a Gisa at best. I guess if I hit a tap land, that's not going to work out for me, but any other land. And even a tap land. think is a decent draw here. It is quite a bit worse than an untapped land, though. But we're only taking 4 a turn, so I would have the time. Alright, here we go. They've got 1 card in hand. It's gotta be able to kill a Bristlebud Farmer. Lively Dirge is dumb when you have 4 mana bombs. Just a second copy of Bristlebud Farmer in this deck. Yeah, and oh my god, now I get to hold up Gigapede during combat. They even know about the Gigapede, but it's not going to help them. I guess if their tricks are really good, might be good enough to get through Gigapede. Oh no. I don't even think we cast Geese at this point. Genuinely. Already trampling for 4 here. Oh, this is for derailment, I see. But then they don't have derailment for Gisa. Actually, at that point, we just cast Gisa, right? Yeah, I should have just cast Gisa. That was bad. That was sloppy. Because we basically got to read exactly what's in their hand there. So if we cast Gisa, they only kill 1 of the 2 bombs. And then I have a Geese on board when I start doing Gigapedes. Yeah, I've been playing really sloppy. Should slow things down and probably care a little bit more about the record. Because this is the match that determines if we get to the qualifier weekend. It just wasn't an event I really cared or planned on winning, so I've just been playing as if it's just a regular sealed event. I should probably start caring at this point. So, slow things down. Oh my god, does it even matter? We're gonna draw like this? Well, they know they can't block, or we just Gigapede and win that combat, and then they have to deal with 2 6/2s. I'm pretty sure attacking in is the best play here. But then... probably Gisa. With a second Gigapede. Can also pillage into something for the Gisa. Even if they kill Gisa, they're down to 8. And we can pillage for removal to hit them for 6. Free Strider Commando. And a Cunning Coyote. What are these draws? This is actually unreal. This is just not fair at all. We just double crime now, which is why we're not attacking with Gigapede. They just block with Coyote, and then I have to Gigapede at Coyote, and I've done 2 crimes for no reason. If I crime once during my turn, then once during theirs, the board is insurmountable. Especially when we pillage into removal. This is not fair, dude. I'm playing so bad today. But that's sealed, baby. Just find Consuming Ashes, I guess. And I don't have double black up. Well, they're still so insanely dead. See, I even tutor for the wrong card. And they're still insanely dead on board. Alright. Not a lot of fair and balanced magic there. We have an insanely powerful sealed pool, and it just carries us to victory despite our best efforts. But what are you going to do? I will accept the victories that are handed to me, and I will play the qualifier weekend event. Hopefully this ends similar to the Arena Open did for us, where day 1 I played like an absolute doofus and just cheesed my way in. But then the day 2 drafts, I feel like I actually drafted and played pretty consistent. Actually had my head in the game there. I actually did care. So let's get our head in the game for the qualifier weekend. Pay a little more attention, spend a little more time on our plays, because we're in there. We got in there for free. We just opened an insane sealed pool, and that is all it took, really. Again, I don't think there was anything super fair about the games. I am pretty happy with how I built this deck. I think there were some decisions to be made with building the sealed pool that weren't just 100% free decisions, like putting in the bristling backwoods, splashing the intimidation campaign, like things like this that are unique to the way that I built this deck that maybe not everyone would. It was mostly a really simple build though, right? Like you just play the colors with your best rares. So I'm not going to say it was a hard deck to build, but I do think I did a solid job with this build. The gameplay, not so much, but the power level of the sealed pool certainly carries us there today. So we get 6,000 gems and qualifier weekend entry. I believe if I claim this prize, I get to see what the qualifier weekend prize out is, but no matter what, before we played these qualifier play-in events, we had like 20,000 gems, I think. So we got like 7,500 gems out of these events, which is super sweet. Great conversion rate from those play-in points. Well, let's see what else we can get in the qualifier weekend day 1. No matter what, another 500 gems. Oh, that's going to be such a long event. Up to 9 rounds of best of 3. So until you hit 7 wins or 3 losses. So if you go 6-3, that's 9 rounds of magic. If you go 7-2, that's 9 rounds of magic. Okay, that's going to be all day long. Guess I gotta call out. Gotta call out of work then. Yeah, but we get a solid amount of gems no matter what. We get to play some more competitive Outlaws of Thunder Junction sealed. We get to spin that roulette wheel, hope for some more good pulls. All right. We'll take it. Hopefully we get a solid deck and maybe get carried into some good gems. Obviously, the big prizes on the line is if you can win 7 rounds before losing 3 rounds, you qualify for the qualifier weekend day 2, which is basically the same structure. It's best of 3 Outlaws of Thunder Junction sealed. You have to win another 7 rounds before 3 match losses, but if you win that time, you get the insanely huge prize of being in the next Arena Championship and Pro Tour events. Those are the really competitive events where max prize is like $10,000, $20,000. I don't even know. It's 5 digits. So could get into a super crazy, super spicy event if we get insanely lucky, because I know we probably can't play well enough to pull a really bad sealed pool all the way into one of those events. So fingers crossed, Arena just gives me more freebies, and maybe we'll get a good amount of gems. Maybe that 0.1% chance we can do qualifier weekend day 2 and all that. But with all that future talk out of the way, that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and you're interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.